Hey, VC, how you doing? It's Alex coming at you once again from Southern California. Just watched James Sputtery's video this morning about records of bands that he's seen live. It's a video that I thought about doing for a couple of weeks. I know it's been an ongoing thread. I honestly don't remember who started to begin with, but yeah, I figured after watching his, I have a few minutes here. Might as well show a few records that I pulled. Cheers, everyone. Just having a little Bloody Mary. First, what's playing in the background right now is this record by Leonardo V. Boccia. The record is called Homenagem, which I believe is Portuguese for tribute or homage. So, local record dealer / record nerd from LA posted this sometime maybe last year when this reissue came out, and I checked it out. Now the hype sticker and the reissue hype is new age ambient from mid 1980s Brazil. So I was very interested to check that out. So I streamed it. Didn't really do anything for me. It really was not ambient music at all. It was not anything related to new age. As you can hear, it's fairly traditional in its roots. Brazilian music with you hear the wonderful vocalist here. Her name is Sueli Sodre, and Baccia is on. I think he plays a lot of the instruments here. So as far as I know, this is the only record that he ever put out. He then kind of receded into academia, and it looks like he's still involved as a professor, of music and related sciences. Anyway, long story short, it's an absolutely incredible record. There are some electronic flourishes in certain parts, but for the most part, it's just these, haunting female vocals and just incredible, traditional, the Tropicalia sound. I'm not sure if some of these are, like standards. As far as I can tell, these are original compositions. Sorry about that. So anyway, yeah, this is originally from 1986. It's reissued in 2018. Only 300 of these reissues were pressed, but there's still some out there. Definitely worth checking out. I think it's available on a lot of streaming platforms. But yeah, Leonardo V. Boccia from Brazil. Stunning. Highly recommended. All right, on to the concert records. This one is right off the bat for you, Buttery. I know you love this band. I don't think I've ever shown any of this. Kind of an underrated band, I guess. Don't hear much about them in the BC. This is Calexico from New Mexico here in the US. This is a Feast of Wire. I think this came out in like 1998, I want to say. Probably their best record, arguably. Certainly has a lot of their most beloved songs. Black Heart, Sunken Waltz. Stucco. Yeah, a lot of so fantastic. So there's just basically experimental indie rock. deeply rooted in traditional southwestern, Mexican American roots, as you can tell by the some of the artwork here, very much in that sort of California, Southern California and Southwest kind of motifs. Fantastic live show that I saw. I can't remember the year exactly, maybe about 2006 or 7, something like that. They come on with a full, often with a full horn section. There's incredible strings, great vocals by the leader. Can't remember his name offhand. A lot of acoustic guitar. On their studio records, they experiment with electronics here and there. Not so much in the live settings as far as I've seen it, and I've seen them maybe 2 or 3 times. But fantastic live show, very much just an incredible, just spirited, I guess is what I would call them in a live setting. Excellent band. Haven't seen them in a long time. It's actually the only record that I have of theirs currently, but I know several of theirs are excellent, especially from the sort of late 90s, early 2000s. These are sort of in chronological order of when I saw them. It's kind of from a narrow period of about 10 years of me seeing shows. So Ornette Coleman, I saw him in 2008. He was headlining the Chicago Jazz Festival. So he had the headliner's spot, I think, on the last day of the festival. This is his 1965 release on ESP disc. I believe, yeah, this is Town Hall. December 1962 recording on ESP disc. This is a later reissue on this yellow label. I actually prefer the artwork on this one. I think the original has like a hand-drawn sketch. It's actually not very good. This photograph is one of my all-time favorite portrait covers. It's extremely emotive. I love this record. Excellent. Anyway, guys, saw him in 2008. I wasn't hugely into jazz, and especially free jazz at the time, but I knew I was watching something special that night. He played his ass off, and I was probably like in the 5th row, and yeah, it was an amazing night for sure. Next band is Liars. Originally based out of New York. I think they're now in LA most of the time. Their leader is Angus Andrews from, I believe he's Australian. This is their 2006 release, Drum's Not Dead. So this is from a time in the mid-2000s when they were living in Berlin, and they basically created this masterpiece that is largely percussion based. There's a ton of drums. I mean, it almost sounds, I don't know if I've ever read this, but I mean, almost like Aboriginal, tribal sounds that are in here. A lot of ton of drums processed in different ways, and then a lot of the vocals are just chants, really. This is an incredible record. If if you've never heard of this. I don't think I've ever seen this show on the VC for some reason, but yeah, widely rated. I think in that year, 2006 is one of the best records of that year. I remember Tom York at the time in an interview, he said he just couldn't believe that a band, he couldn't understand how a band would arrive at such a strange record during that time. So definitely check that out. This is on it's on Mute Records. Liars. I saw them in what was that? 2008. So a couple of years after they put this one out. I think they put out a self-titled release. And they were touring on that one at the time. Next is Gas. I've talked about them before. The project of German Wolfgang Voigt. This is called Zauberg. I think this one originally came out in like maybe 2000. This is part of the box set that came out a few years ago that issued a bunch of his, I think his first 4 records. I think Derek is the only one that I've ever seen show Gas. Just incredible. I think it's some of the best ambient stuff to come out in the last 20 years. He's got hours and hours of it, and he's put out a couple additional similarly themed records over the last couple of years after like an 8 or 9 year hiatus. Essentially a project that was inspired by his memories of dropping acid and walking, getting lost in the woods in Germany. So it's dense. There's dub techno influence, modern classical influences, just brilliant stuff. So he played in Chicago. That was 2009. He played at the Art Institute of Chicago. It was a strange gig. I don't even remember if you could see him doing anything. I remember there was like it's kind of like a 3D screen with these incredible visuals of almost like 3D, almost like something you'd see like in an electron microscope or something like that. So it was a very interesting show, interesting setting. Yeah, great stuff. All right, 3 more to go. So Aaron Dillaway, only person I've ever heard talk about Aaron Dillaway in the VC is Aaron, metal theologian. Just a brilliant experimental electronic artist. I saw him about maybe 6 years ago when I still lived in Chicago. Very interesting artist. He's an electronic artist, but he definitely does not work off a laptop like a lot of artists do. He really he's using a lot of analog sounds, process sounds during his performances, and in his records. He physically manipulates tape heads and so on. He uses a ton of samples and then just distorts them and processes them in different ways to create magnificent textures. And definitely a lot of his music is fairly dark, ominous, fantastic stuff. I have a ton of his records. So yeah, Aaron, if you see this, I'm a big fan too. This is on his Hanson Records. I think it's his own label, and I think they have a record shop also in Overland, Ohio, where he resides. Now this I have seen the BC a few times, of course. Digital Lake Hotel from 1998 in Airplane Over the Sea. Pretty pretty famous indie rock album from that era. Leader Jeff Mangum out of Georgia. I believe he came out of that Athens, Georgia scene, if I recall. You know, basically put out a couple of records and then kind of disappeared into anonymity for a long time. So it was amazing when 2014 they toured across the U.S. playing a lot of the songs that people had been revering for years. And yeah, it was a fantastic show. Several nights were sold out in Chicago, and I think it was one of the last shows that I saw in Chicago when I lived there. You know, he came out on stage with a ridiculous beard, but yeah, band was excellent. And you know, these, if you know this record, you know what a joy it is, and how much fun it would have been to see this in a live setting with the horns and all that stuff. So, and this is the last show that I saw before I moved to out here to California. This was in 2014 as well. I saw Kraftwerk on their 3D tour that they did. So here's their debut. This is an original pressing Philips. Here's number 2. Yeah, it was a fantastic show. Of course, played a ton of the classics. Great visuals on the show. I'm sure some of you may have caught that show at some point. But yeah, awesome to see this band do their thing. You know, with yeah, and it's very much about the visuals as well as the music. All right, looks like I'm running out of memory here, so